and the winner of Georgetown, Survivor, Animal Kingdom.
We're down to Final 5, and the special thing about Final 5 is that it's the last time that most idols and advantages can be played. So for me, who no longer has any advantages, well, my last one I could only play until Final 7 anyway, so it's not really useful anymore, but that doesn't really apply to me unless I find an idol like now. But it does apply to some other people.
So the vote went perfectly. It was 4-2. We got Linnea out, and no one saw it coming. It was great, and I'm feeling really solid about my position moving forward. I talked with Jackson afterwards, and by getting Linnea out, we've really isolated Jackson, and I'm the person he's left closest to in the game because he does not like Nikhil at all, and he does not like Maeve and Jane because he views them as a really tight duo. I mean, he is correct about their being, tight alliances left in the game, but it's not Maeve and Jane. It's Nikhil and I, and it's me and Jane. So I left Jackson with me being his closest ally left in the game, which is fantastic. Nikhil is going to continue to side with me on every vote, which is exactly what I want, and I know Jane has my back, so I'm feeling pretty good moving forward. I think I have access to all the information left in the game, and I can hopefully work with whichever people necessary to make whatever vote happen moving forward. So I'm feeling pretty good.
If I were playing for $1 million, I would probably choose to go with Jackson and Nikhil, just because I think in terms of where they are at the moment, like Jackson was really blindsided in that last vote, and I think that even though he's won a lot of immunity challenges, he's not really in control of the game right now. Nor, I would argue, has he really been recently, considering Ashley. And then I don't think that Nikhil has really directed any votes or been the determining factor. So we'll see. And also, none of them can say, Maeve and I are the only people right now who can say that every name we've written down in the game so far has gone home. We've voted off every single person that has been voted off, which is not true of Ashley, Jackson, or Nikhil. So, which I think is a pretty good argument for, being in control of the whole game. I think Jackson is starting to see that too. I think that's why Jackson has decided that it's time to get one of us out. But, I'm hoping he won't be successful. I'm hoping Maeve and I can really argue for Jackson's advantage, or for Jackson's immunity winning to be a bigger factor in him doing well in the game. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But
Welcome back, survivors, to your final 5 immunity challenge. So, for today's challenge, we've been in this game for a while. You've gotten to know your fellow competitors, you've gotten to know a lot about each other. You can have a general impression on what people would do in certain situations. In addition, I think it's also great at this point to shake up the game a little bit in the challenge that we do. So, for today's game, we will be filling out this survey that will ask you different questions about the people remaining in the game. You will answer in the form of another person's name. After you fill out the survey, we'll do another round where you all get whiteboards. I will ask you questions that had appeared on the survey, and you will write down the person you think had the most people put for their answer. So if 4 people put Jackson for one question, then it's Jackson. And whoever puts Jackson will be able to come up and mark an X into the circles. You get 3 X's in your circle, you're eliminated from the challenge. That's it. First question. Who did you all think is the most honest within this game? All right, turn around your boards in 3, 2, 1. Ashley, Jane, Jackson, Jackson, and Jackson. Jackson was the correct answer. So you 3 get to put an X on the board. Whenever a third X is given to a person, Feel free to take the safety pin on this desk right here and pop a balloon. Maeve gets her first X. Maeve receiving her second X, and Jackson with 1 X. Interesting first round. Who would not survive on the CBS show Survivor? Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Jane, Nikhil, Ashley, Nikhil, Jackson. The correct answer, Nikhil.
Thanks, guys.
Maeve seems to know the results of this round, getting her 3rd X, letting Jackson give an X himself. Jackson, pop balloon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god. Got that on camera. With that, Maeve, you're eliminated from the challenge. No shot at immunity for the rest of you. 1 in 4 chance. Let's see what happens. Who is the most likely to betray you in this game?
Everybody flip around your answers in 3, 2, 1. Nikhil says Nikhil, Jackson says Nikhil, Ashley says Nikhil, Jane says Jackson.
What are you talking about?
The correct answer was Jackson.
Yeah. Wow. With that 3rd X, Jackson is eliminated from the challenge. Let's hear a balloon pop.
I don't know. Dark green looks like it's gonna be the loudest.
Alright. With that, Jackson, you're eliminated from the challenge. 3 people remain, all with no X's. Who mistakenly thinks that they are running this game?
Flip around your answers in 3, 2, 1. Nikhil says Jackson, Jane says Nikhil, Ashley says Jane. The correct answers, since they were tied, was Jackson and Maeve. So, Nikhil, you're the only one who gets right. But it's
Big decision here. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo leads up with Ashley getting her first X in this challenge. Who would be able to entertain themselves in an empty room?
flip around our answers in 3, 2, 1. Nikhil says Maeve, Jane says Nikhil, Ashley says Nikhil. Again, the correct answers are Maeve and Jackson. So Nikhil gets credit and gets the next.
Another X equaling it up between Ashley and Jane. Who deserves to win this game the most? Questions that could end up leading us to ask ourselves questions as to who should be eliminated from this game. So,
Our answers in 3, 2, 1. Everyone says Jackson. Everyone is correct. Jackson was the correct answer.
I don't like that.
Jane puts an X on Nikhil. Ashley returns the favor back. And in a moment, Nikhil goes to the most vulnerable spot in this challenge. Yeah. And with that, Ashley is in the lead for this challenge at 2 X's. Nikhil and Jane both have 1. Who could single-handedly fight an army by themselves?
For our answers in 3, 2, 1. Everyone says Jackson. Again, Jackson was the correct answer.
Yes.
No, I know, but I feel like the order does impact it. It does.
Nikhil is eliminated from the challenge. Nikhil puts an X onto Ashley. And Jane X's out Ashley, leading to Jane winning immunity, being the last person left standing in this challenge. Do you care to pop both balloons? It seems to... Yeah, Ashley gets to pop one, Jane pops the other. Nikhil seems to have made a misplay in this, leading to Jane clinching the immunity. It's my favorite part. That win, Jane wins immunity, a guaranteed spot in the final 4. For the rest of you, Tribal Council, where one person will fall short and join the jury. Thank you all for coming, and best of luck.
So we had the challenge, and I was so close to winning immunity. Nikhil just really messed it up for me, which is so frustrating, but Jane got immunity, which I guess is fine. It wasn't Jackson, which is good because we want to get Jackson out this week. He's just a big challenge threat, and he's likable. People like him. He hasn't backstabbed a lot of people in the game, so I think if he made it to final, he would stand a good chance at getting a lot of jury votes, just because he hasn't ruffled any feathers, and what's not to like? He has been a great player all along. He's won so many challenges, so I think we need to use this opportunity to get rid of Jackson. But in the challenge, it was left down to me, Jane, and Nikhil. We each had a vote, and 2 people were going to get eliminated, and basically Nikhil wasn't thinking, and he gave immunity to Jane instead of me. So that was very frustrating. Alternatively, I could have made Jane choose between Nikhil and I for immunity, but I wasn't sure what choice Jane would make. She and I are working together, but I don't know if she would have wanted to reveal that by giving immunity to me, so I took the other route and just assumed that Nikhil would think a step ahead and, you know, foresee what was going to happen and give me immunity, but clearly that didn't work out. Anyways, I've talked to everyone after the tribal. Everyone wants to talk after the challenge. Everyone wants to talk to me because I've situated myself in a position where I'm pretty much everyone's closest ally in the game. I'm definitely Jackson's closest ally. I'm definitely Nikhil's closest ally, and he's going to do whatever I do. I'm definitely Jane's closest ally. The one person is Maeve. Because Jane is my ally, I have access to everything that Maeve is saying. So I feel like I have a very good read of what's going on. Jackson is very worried. I think he kind of knows in the back of his head that there's a good possibility that he's this vote, but also he believes me when I say that I'm gonna vote with him and vote for Maeve, even though that's not true. I feel really bad. He asked point blank so many times, like, are you serious about, you know, working with me? Because I think we need to work together. Like, if you want to vote me at next vote, that's fine, but we need to work together this vote to get rid of the Maeve-Jane duo. Which, if the Maeve-Jane duo was a real thing, I would agree 100%, and I feel really bad telling him I'm not going to vote for him and then turning around and voting for him, because it's tough forming relationships with these people and then especially making it this far with them and then having to vote them out. But you gotta do what you gotta do at this point. I'm just going to flip and blindside Jackson. That's still a good move and puts me in a good position moving forward, and I can hopefully make it to the finals with my idol. So that's my plan for tonight.
I finally won a challenge and I'm officially going to Final Four. I feel so relieved. I'm really glad about that. It was kind of interesting. So I think Nikhil wanted me to win over Ashley. At least it looked that way to me, considering he chose to put an X next to Ashley. But it was interesting that he was like trying to play it off like it was an accident. Like, that feels kind of weird, but at least it kind of shows me that he trusts me more than Ashley, which is a good thing. And so now I'm texting back and forth with Jackson, who obviously wants to vote for Maeve and knows that Maeve's expecting it though, so he wants her to like be certain that there's a majority for him, and then he wants me to help him vote for Maeve. So I don't know whether or not to trust this, but obviously because I cannot be the vote, I believe that he's probably telling me the truth. He's just desperate and thinks he's going home.
So Jackson is scared for tonight. He's really scared. And it's great because every single person left in the game has been telling me information about all their conversations. Nikhil has been telling me about the conversations that he's had with Jackson. He's been telling me everything that's been happening and reassuring me, oh, I'm voting with you, you know, like, Jane has been telling me about conversations that she's had with Jackson. Maeve has been telling me conversations about what she said with Jackson. Like, Jackson's telling me about all of these conversations as well. So I think I have a pretty good read on the situation. Jackson's really trying to scramble the votes and trying to panic because he's worried that Maeve has an idol, which I don't think is true because I have the idol. And so he's trying to come up with like contingency plans and, you know, trying to reassure Maeve that the vote's not going to be on her tonight and everything. But basically at the end of the day, I know Nikhil's going to vote with me. I know Jane's going to vote with me. And Maeve's options are for it to be her or Jackson. So Maeve's going to vote with me too. So the four of us should have a clear path to voting Jackson out.
Pretty much heading to tribal council. Really, really nervous. Well, no, not tribal council, the challenge, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go straight from challenge to tribal council because we have it at a different time. So, very nervous. Very, very nervous. I'm hoping that I win this challenge. And if not, Jane wins, just Jackson doesn't, and that people just keep me in. I know Jackson's gunning for me, which makes me really nervous. But we'll see how this goes.
Welcome, survivors, to your final 5 tribal council. Really getting it down to the wire here. So, as we're talking about that, Jane, how important does immunity become in this game as we start to get less and less people throughout it?
I mean, immunity right now is the difference between being one of 2 more people voted off versus 1 more person voted off. So I don't know. I think it makes a big difference. But yeah, I think the timing could not have been more right.
Fair. Very nice to have that known safety around your neck tonight. So, Nikhil, talk to me about that moment in the challenge. What happened there? It seemed like you made a little miscalculation as to who to put an X on to, leading to Jane's win.
So when I went up the first 2 times, I was like, okay, I'm gonna vote on one person, but nobody had X's, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pick someone. And then I got to go up again, and I was like, okay, I'll put it on the other person. And then I thought, like, the second time around, I'd do the same thing, not realizing that not running the numbers through my head clearly, and just doing a big miscalculation. So that was really on me. But yeah.
Interesting. So, Ashley, how big of a mistake is this move? Because it seemingly did cost you immunity in this challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing to not win immunity, but I understand, you know, in the moment of the challenge, a lot of things are probably going through your head. You can get caught up in the moment, and, you know, Nikhil was placed in front of a chalkboard with one name with 2 X's under it and one name with 1 X under it, so I can see how, in the moment, like, he was just evening out the score, so to speak.
So, Jackson, in the challenge, a lot of the answers were about you. What does this tell you? What insights can you get off of that?
I don't know. A couple of them were like who could last the longest in a room and like alone and entertain themselves. So I don't really know what I'm supposed to get from that. I mean, it's hard because I think we could only choose from the people that are left. I think a lot of the answers could have been given to people that got eliminated. So I don't know. I'm trying not to read too much into it because the options were limited and who we were allowed to answer.
Maeve, every tribal council since the merge, you've been saying that you were scared for the vote and that it was going to be you. Does this hold up for another week in a row right now, or are you feeling better and safe somehow this week?
No. God, no. Yeah, no. I mean, numbers go down, anxiety goes up. Yeah, that's all I can really say. There's no more confidence this week than last week, probably less. Just hoping and praying.
So each week you get less and less confident about your chances of staying, but each week you do seem to hang alive by a thread.
The thread is like really thin.
Well, we'll see if we can test it again tonight after we vote. So, Ashley, how have tribal lines really evolved throughout this game? We saw last week they bent a little bit as you guys took Linnea out. How have they changed? Are they just bending, or have they fully broken now and it's just an open game?
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point they have to bend at least a little, just numbers-wise. I think there are 3 people sitting at the end, so
you gotta bend a little at some point, but I think we've kind of realigned, I would say.
The tribal lines would say that they're sticking through tonight.
Interesting. So Maeve, I guess that does help to quell your, or not quell, but fuel your nervousness. So Jane, now that you're guaranteed into the Final Four, how do you go about making your decision of who to vote out tonight? Is it based on who you think you can beat in the end?
I would say it's about that, but also about who you think you can trust the most, who you want to bring with you, and yeah, definitely thinking about in the end who you would have the best case against. Now is really the time to start thinking about that. I think that definitely played a bigger role this time, but I also think it's about trust.
So Jackson, in just like a week's time about now, we're gonna turn the power over to the jury and have them make the ultimate decision of who wins this game. How do you go about making moves and building your story in order to convince the jury that you're a deserving candidate for the win?
I mean, I think there's something to be said about just sticking to your play style. I think it indicates that, number one, you knew how to play the game from the beginning, and number two, like, I think of, I mean, I always just think of like the way JT won, because like I don't know, he stayed, I mean, he wasn't like a jerk to anybody, he didn't do anything to anybody intentionally, and he ended up winning. So I feel like that's just like kind of the template, is like, because nobody was angry about him winning. I don't know if he was unanimous, but I feel like he was pretty close, was he? Yeah. Like, I feel like that's kind of the template I've been trying to go for, and I feel like there's something to be said about trying to stick to the play style as long as you can.
So would you say that you're trying to model your play style around his?
Not necessarily. Like, he's a lot more, I think, charismatic and like, just
I'd say you're charismatic.
He's a cool guy. I'm just saying, like, I think his philosophy of the game, I think, is like stick to how you're playing from the beginning and don't flip flop on people, and just like, or flip flop how you're playing. Consistency is key, I think.
So, Nikhil, what do you think the jury is looking for in a potential winner?
I think each member of the jury is different, right? Like, each person is gonna like look for different things. Certain people might like base their vote off of who they like the most, who they've spent the most time with, worked with in the past, stuff like that. Other people based off of like big gameplay moves and who's had like the best gameplay overall. And there's definitely a lot that goes into it. I mean, there's a bunch of different people on the jury, so they're each gonna have their own voices and their own opinions.
Yeah, so Maeve, now that we're at the Final Five, in traditional Survivor, this is the last chance a lot of advantages and idols can be played. Do you imagine to see a lot of things that have been hiding in plain sight coming out tonight and being played? Or do you think everything's out of the game and it's going to be quiet?
Honestly, I think if there are idols out there, I mean, if today's the last day to play them, like, people will play them because nobody wants to not like go with an idol in their pocket, especially when you couldn't play at any other point. So I feel like that if there are, I don't know if there are any idols or advantages out there, why wouldn't you play them tonight?
So do you imagine anything will be played? Do you think anything's still left in the game?
I don't know. I think it's been hard to find them. Oh shoot, sorry.
Pop filter.
And I think that just because time constrictions, also like, I'm gonna be honest, you look a little weird. Sometimes I go out, maybe I'll look a little. There's been times where I've gotten some looks from people as I'm like climbing over like a statue, and people are like, nice. And it's a small campus. I don't think you want to be the person who's climbing on statues this early as a freshman. So I don't know. I think it's hard to say. I think if they're out there, I honestly do not know if there are, then they would be played tonight, because why wouldn't you? But I really have no idea.
Interesting. Well, let's put that theory to the test and see if there is anything out there. It is time to vote. Jane, you're first.
If I get blindsided tonight, this is like the best blindside of all time, because people would have directly lied to my face very well. So I would be impressed.
think I cobbled together a plan. Hopefully you're going home. It's me or you tonight, so.
If anybody has an idol or an advantage and would like to play it, now would be the time to. Okay. Once the votes are read and the decision is final, the person voted out will be asked to leave the tribal council area immediately. First vote, Jackson. Maeve. One vote Jackson, one vote Maeve. Jackson. Two votes Jackson, one vote Maeve. The 10th person voted out, and the 7th member of our jury, Jackson. That's 3, that's enough.
It's been an honor and a pleasure. Seems like our tribal lines may have fully been broken, and Maeve is still hanging on by that thread. I'll see you all next week. Bye.
If you want the vote this time, you win. First ever tribal council we had. You voted for me. I finally get to live in Georgetown. I'm really hoping to go home tonight.
Don't touch anything. CSI is on its way next here on CBS.